Next, move to the consideration of the minutes from our meeting on August 27th, 2025. The minutes were distributed in advance of today's meeting via email. I'm assuming we can forego a reading of the minutes. Are there any corrections or amendments to the minutes as distributed?
I make one correction. There was a typo paragraph that said starts with the International Travel Registry. I left Dalton in on international.
We'll take that as a friendly amendment. So thank you, Michelle, for pointing that out. Any other corrections or amendments? All right, hearing no further amendments or corrections, the minutes are adopted as amended. And thank you, Michelle, for putting that together. All right, next, the Faculty Senate President's Report. Dear Senators, I begin today's report by recognizing the pain that many in our country are feeling as a result of the devastating violence we have observed over the past weeks, months, and years, including acts which were politically motivated. There is no justification for these attacks, and we cannot condemn forcefully enough the events in Utah, Colorado, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Texas, New York, California, and Washington, D.C., just to name a few. Stopping these threats should be a societal imperative, one which is political but not partisan. Each of us, whether Democrat, Republican, or other, have been affected, and we share a profound collective interest in preventing future occurrences. Ending the violence will require addressing the inflammatory rhetoric being used in our public conversations. Scholars such as Hannah Arendt have established the strong relationship between aggressive and dehumanizing language and the rise of violence. When we describe individuals with whom we disagree as being unworthy of respect, declare they have fewer rights than those who share our beliefs, or categorize them as the enemy because their positions are different from our own, we are creating conditions which facilitate violent acts that lead to their own cycles of retaliation and increasing hostilities. In a free society, we must refrain from this type of language and instead resolve our differences through processes grounded in respect, including respect for each other, the rule of law, and the institutions we have established to create and maintain order. Education is in many ways at the forefront of this challenge. Not only have we seen physical attacks at schools of all levels, but the learning process requires the ability to challenge individuals intellectually, debate strongly held beliefs, and resolve differences through argumentation rather than violence. Critically, we must respect the rights of others to hold beliefs which are different than our own and recognize that they have an equal right to participate in the intellectual life of the university. This does not mean that we must give all positions equal weight. Some will, through better evidence or superior argumentation, be more persuasive than others, and it is up to the experts in any given field to collectively determine which theories are credible parts of the discipline and which are not. However, this process itself requires freedom in both speech and academic inquiry. Pursuing truth in this manner requires the freedom to investigate and speak freely. And we are fortunate that at LSU, we generally have strong policies protecting both of these critical areas. While our adherence to them has been imperfect on occasion, they have generally made us one of the freest institutions in the state to collectively investigate challenging ideas, pursue truth, and educate successive generations of students. In short, there is no free speech crisis at our university. Maintaining this freedom requires accepting that you cannot achieve free speech on campus by compelling students or faculty to say some things or refrain from saying others. Freedom of speech comes not from increasingly restrictive rules, but rather from limited constraints, which create space to engage in debate and allow for the participation of each of the groups which constitute our campus community. As professors, we must continue to show our students that we value them and appreciate that they have chosen to come to LSU to work with our outstanding faculty by creating environments conducive to their intellectual growth. Similarly, students and others must respect that faculty are not the enemy, but we are instead experts who have dedicated our professional lives to mastering our academic areas. It must also be understood that in order to serve our students effectively, we must have the right to use our best judgment to determine what material is necessary for them to master in order to understand their area of study, and to present that material in a manner consistent with discipline-specific and general professional standards. It is also important to note that understanding does not require acceptance. Students are free to disagree with the material presented to them, so long as they can demonstrate that they understand the argument or evidence with which they disagree. This can often result in challenging the professor or others in a constructive way, and every faculty member should accept and even encourage these types of engagements. What it cannot lead to, however, are efforts to limit the ability to teach certain subjects based on personal objections. Individuals do not have the right to place prohibitions on content which is appropriate for the field of study, but which they find personally objectionable. If that ceases to be the case, and the appropriateness of a particular content is determined by social preferences rather than intellectual competition between experts within the field, then the purpose of education will simply become to reinforce the beliefs of those who already hold them and the conversions of those who do not, rather than a process of seeking truth and improving human welfare. Our universities have been some of the most important institutions in the growth of our society, and as our political environment becomes increasingly untenable, we can also play an important role in de-escalating the violence currently plaguing our country. One of the ways we can do so is by modeling the type of environment which facilitates the constructive dialogue necessary to end the escalatory rhetoric and recriminations. If we cannot have the spirited debates which are necessary to resolve societal differences within the institutions of democracy, then we will inevitably fight outside of them in a way which tears it apart. And the presidential search. The Presidential Search Committee will hold its next meeting on Wednesday, October 1st. As one of two faculty representatives on the committee, I wanted to share my approach to the search and what I will be prioritizing as I review the applications. I have not yet seen any submissions, so these comments are offered as general feedback and do not speak to the qualifications of any individual candidate. From my perspective, the most important criterion I will be using to evaluate candidates is their level of academic achievement across the critical areas of research and teaching. While the provost serves as the chief academic officer for the university, the president, who in this case also serves as the chancellor of LSU A&M, has a critical role in core processes such as tenure, promotion, and the termination of faculty. For example, the president has final approval authority over the granting of tenure in PS 36T and the revocation of tenure and termination of a faculty member in PS 104. The president also directs the academic leadership of the system, including the executive vice president and provost and the chancellors. I personally believe that to successfully perform the duties of this position, a candidate must have deep, first-hand understanding of the academic mission of the university so they can properly lead the faculty under his or her supervision. The Board of Supervisors bylaws also emphasize this aspect of the position by establishing that the president is a member of all faculties within the system and is the chair of each of the faculty councils. The importance of this type of experience is magnified by the fact that there are few other positions at this level of university administration which require this background. Unlike at some public systems in other states, there is no requirement that any member of our system or state higher education boards be a faculty member. Furthermore, the majority of the 14 executive vice president or vice president positions listed on the LSU organizational chart do not deal directly with teaching or research on campus. Therefore, since the president serves as the chief executive officer of the university and is the connection between the board and system level administration, in my judgment, academic experience is a critical component of the candidate's profile, so they have a full and complete understanding of the work that we do and the conditions which are required to allow us to be successful. Of course, success as a researcher or teacher, while important, are not the only qualifications required for the position. I will also look at the candidate's performance in prior administrative roles, their demonstrated leadership capabilities, references from those who know them best, and my own interactions with them to inform my opinion. I will also seek to incorporate feedback I receive from you as I decide who to recommend be put forward for the board's final consideration. Overall, I am confident that the other members of the committee and I understand the gravity of this task and share a common objective of finding the most qualified individual to be the next president of LSU. Having pointed out many reasons for concerns, I'd like to conclude by acknowledging some of the reasons to be positive about our university. Our enrollments continue to grow. We're providing our students with the knowledge and skills they need for long-term success, and we continue to do outstanding research in record volume. Additionally, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, recently moved LSU into the top 50 of its college free speech rankings, the highest score in Louisiana. While we still have work to do, there is strong leadership in place, beginning with President Lee and throughout each level of the institution, that is committed to supporting our staff, students, and faculty. With this solid foundation, we are well positioned to continue our pursuit of academic excellence now and into the future. That concludes my president's report, and I would be happy to take any questions from senators. Okay, well, thank you very much for your attention. We will now move on to our special orders for today, which are the Faculty Senate Member at Large positions. As a reminder, the Faculty Senate Executive Committee has 3 member at large positions, 2 of which are elected in the spring. The third is held in reserve until the September meeting of the Faculty Senate so that an incoming cohort member of the new senators can stand for election and be included on the committee. Today, we have 2 candidates who have identified themselves in advance as being interested in running for this position, Kristen Healy from Ag, Seung-Wang Yang from HSC, and I thank them both for their willingness to serve on the committee. Before we take nominations from the floor, is there a motion to hold an election for the 3rd member at large position? Thank you. Motion, and come out with a second. Thank you. Madam Secretary, do we have the motion recorded? Thank you very much. Okay, in addition to Drs. Healy and Yang, are there any additional nominations from the floor for individuals who would like to stand for election to the Faculty Senate Executive Committee? And as an additional reminder, unfortunately, our first-year senators from the College of Science are excluded, as we already have 2 representatives from Science, and we are limited to 2 from any voting unit on the committee. All right, hearing no additional nominations, nominations are now closed. We are going to allow each of our candidates 3 minutes to offer a personal statement in support of their candidacy. So at this point, I would like to invite Dr. Healy to come to the front.
I know, I'm like, yeah.
If you just hit start stop when you're ready.
Okay, can you hear me? Is that loud? You can hear me? Okay, start. Oh, start right here. Okay, great. I'm not sure how many of you read my bio. Probably not. Okay, so I kind of assumed it's not. So first, I want to just thank you for the opportunity to be considered for the position of member at large of the executive committee. I'll just give you a little bit of a brief introduction of who I am and where I come from. So I got my bachelor's of zoology, Bachelor of Science Zoology from University of Rhode Island, a Master of Science in Environmental Science from University of Rhode Island, my PhD in entomology at Rutgers University, and then an MPH in environmental health through an affiliated university from Rutgers, University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey. And so then I came here in 2013, so I've been here a while. And my research is really focused on some controversial areas. I feel like I fit in this umbrella of One Health. And so a lot of my early research was looking at the impacts of pesticides to non-target organisms. And as part of that, it's a very controversial area of research. And I'm really proud of the work that we did in my lab with this. As I tend to take that work, I approach a lot of issues in the same way. When we did this work, it's a controversial topic, and we made sure that anybody that had a vested interest in the topic had a seat at the table through every step of the research project. So they could comment on our experimental design. They could come out and watch us in the field, right? And so we had pesticide companies worried about what we were going to do, right? And we had anti-pesticide folks, looking at what we were doing. But everybody had a seat at the table and got to watch and observe. So whatever we saw was the reality of what the situation was. And because of that, I'm really proud of the work we did. And I tend to face a lot of the issues the same way. I love working in that controversial, challenging, problem-solving space. I just feel like to come to people with empathy and respect, no matter their opinions. And I think a lot of times I assume, in this situation with Senate, you have squeaky wheels, but you also have non-squeaky wheels, and they both have interesting opinions, and I think both opinions should be heard. So with that, I hope to bring a lot of my own experience if I'm elected to this position. So a little bit of my experience. I'm a medical entomologist. I also dabble in forensic entomology, and I was on the news, so you might have seen me because I was collecting maggots off of a dead body a couple of weeks ago. So with that, and yeah, if you have any questions, and whether you elect me or not, I'm really happy to be here and part of the Senate. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Healy, and Dr. Yang, if you would please come to the front.
Hi, my name is Seungwon Yang. I'm an associate professor with a joint appointment in the School of Information Studies and also at the Center for Computation and Technology. My latest interdisciplinary research is investigating dangerous speech posted on social media by extremist groups and how we can detect these posts automatically using machine learning and AI agents. And I also work on international collaborative project with South Korean and American faculty. So we aim to predict regional information inequality index in South Korea. And this kind of study could be applied to Louisiana. And I teach technical courses in my school and also have co-advised several doctoral students in the computer science department on campus. And since March, I have been serving as the secretary for the Faculty Senate Gen AI Committee. So I also already have some work experience with some members of the executive committee, including Dr. Singh, Dr. Osborne, and Dr. Bazayev, who are also on the Gen AI committee. So if elected, I would represent the School of Information Studies on the executive committee, and with the understanding of all the issues in a variety of areas based on my background and interest in computer science, information science, and misinformation and social media analysis. And I believe my experience on the Faculty Senate Gen AI Committee as a secretary and also my technical training would be very helpful to the role as a member at large on the executive committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. My thanks to them both. I think we're very fortunate that we have two excellent candidates for the position. We will now proceed to the vote. For those of you for whom this is your first time going through a vote with us for an elected position, due to the viva voce requirement in open meetings laws, we cannot do voting by show of hands. It has to be by voice, which forces us to do a roll call vote of all members of the Senate. So Secretary Osborne will in a moment come up and call roll. When your name is called, please let her know whether you're voting for Healy or Yang. Your vote will be repeated back to you for accuracy. And we on the executive committee will be keeping tally of the votes as we go through. We'll take a moment just to confirm our tallies match each other, and then we will announce the winner. So that is the process, and I would invite Secretary Osborne to the lectern.
Hello, hello. There we go. All right, I'll say each name and then I'll hesitate for a moment to wait for an answer. If someone supplies me an answer, I will repeat back your answer. If no one supplies me an answer, I'll repeat the name again just to make sure they heard me, if they're here, and then I will move to the next one. All right. Ali Musad. Ali. Which senator would you like to vote for? The first one. Okay, so Healy. So Ali Musad is Healy. Kayanush Ariana. Healy. Okay, Kayanush Ariana Healy. Trina Biswas. Okay, Trina Biswas Healy. Brett Boutwell.
Healy.
Brett Boutwell Healy. Christine Bruning. Christine Bruning. Summer Chandler. Summer Chandler Yang. Yan Chin. Yan Chin. Rebecca Christofferson. Rebecca Christofferson. Haley Cobb. Haley Cobb Healy. Robert Cook.
Healy.
Robert Cook Healy. Charles Dalzell. Charles Dalzell. Noah DeWitt. Noah DeWitt Healy. Ray Diamond. Ray Diamond. Kunlun Ding. Young. Kunlun Ding Young. Peter Duran.
Healy.
Peter Duran Healy. Joshua Ellis. Okay. Ellis Yang. Mehdi Farasat. Mehdi Farasat. Meredith Gaglio. Meredith Gaglio. Edward Gibbons. Edward Gibbons Healy. Charles Goodman. Charles Goodman. Lauren Griffin. Lauren Griffin. Kristen Healy. Healy. Michael Holt. Michael Holt Yang. Ryan Holteen. Holteen Healy. Catherine Jaquette. Catherine Jaquette abstain. Hartmut Kaiser. Healy. Okay. Kaiser Healy. Revati Kumar. Healy. Kumar is Healy. Patty Lathan. Okay. Lathan Yang. Julia Ledette. Ledette Yang. Yue Lee. Yue Lee Healy. Donald Lund. Donald Lund Yang. Paul Manthai. Manthai is Yang. Giulio Mariotti. Giulio Mariotti Healy. Sarah Matthews. Matthews is Healy. Carmela Matza. Healy. Matza is Healy. Supratik Mukhopadhyay. Healy. Supratik is Healy. Marcia Newcomer. Marcia Newcomer. Michelle Osborne, I'll abstain. Andre Pagliarini. Yang. Pagliarini is Yang. Rosemary Peters Hill. Rosemary Peters Hill. Ray Pingree. Pingree is Healy. Subramaniam Satavel. Satavel is Healy. James Sauls. Sauls is Young. James Shergill. James Shergill. Jennifer Scott. Jennifer Scott is Young. Samuel Snow. Samuel Snow. Philip Sprunger. Philip Sprunger is Yang. Casey Stannard. Stannard is Healy. Mayank Tyagi. Okay, are you abstaining? Healy, okay. For Tyagi is Healy. Vanessa Ulig. Healy, Ulig is Healy. Bulent Unel. Bulent Unel. Willem van Boxtel. Van Boxtel is Healy. Shay Velovic. Okay. You said Dr. Yang. Okay. For Velovic is Dr. Yang. Ted Waldron. Waldron is Healy. Kathy Williams. Okay. Williams is Healy. Jian Shou. Jian Shu. Sungwon Yang. Yang is Yang. And then Jun Zhu. Yang. Jun Zhu is Yang. Mhm. Is there anyone who didn't get an opportunity to vote? Yeah. Oh, okay. Mhm. I'm sorry, Tracy LeBlanc. Who would you like? Healy. Healy, okay. Okay, and then. Okay. Mhm. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you.
We'll be at ease for just one moment as we tally the results. All right, well, thank you to everyone for your votes. Dr. Healy has been elected to the third member-at-large seat, and congratulations. And thank you, Dr. Yang, as well. I know this isn't an easy process to go through. We appreciate your willingness to serve, and don't worry, there are other committees that we'll be able to use you on in addition to GAI, so we look forward to working with you both. We'll now move on to our next set of business. So we're going to have elections for two of our standing committees today, Budget and Planning Committee and the Faculty Appeals Board. Starting with Budget and Planning Advisory Committee. This committee has a number of charges, largely focused on liaisoning with the administration on matters relating to the budget. The full list of charges for the committee can be seen on their webpage on the Faculty Senate website. The voting members are stipulated in the bylaws or in the committee operating procedures as 8 faculty, 6 elected and 2 appointed. However, the bylaws stipulate that this is an elected committee, so we elect all 8. They serve 3-year terms, except the terms will be staggered, and they may not serve concurrently in administrative positions as chairs or higher. Currently, we have 5 committee members: Holly, Cook, Clay, Jelicivic, and Martinez. We consequently have 3 open positions, and we have the good fortune that we have 3 candidates who are willing to stand for election: James Canfield from HSE, Kenneth Lapata from Science, Wheeling Song from Business. Is there a motion to hold an election for the Budget and Planning Committee? Thank you. Cook has the motion. Is there a second? Thank you. We have a second. You good, Michelle? Thank you very much. All right. Are there any nominations from the floor? All right, hearing no nominations, the nomination period has now closed. Given that we have 3 candidates and 3 positions, all our candidates are elected by acclamation, so thank you to each of them for their willingness to serve. Moving on to the Faculty Appeals Board. Faculty Appeals Board, there we go. Can frequently be confused with the Faculty Adjudication Committee, but they do different tasks. The Appeals Board is called upon in cases where there is a PS 104 proceeding needing the use of a faculty review board, or in cases under documents such as PS 36T, when a faculty member wishes to appeal a decision covered by that process, such as a denial of tenure. So we look at this as sort of a standing pool of faculty from whom we can draw when we need to provide faculty for these processes. The Faculty Appeals Board is composed of 12 to 15 faculty members, representing a balance among discipline, colleges, and schools. Currently on the committee, we have Lindsay, Barry, Quiraz, Howe, Petershill, Sauls, Sifried, and Veldman. We on the executive committee have recently updated the charges for this committee or the membership requirements to require that members be full professors from this point moving forward when we elect our newest members. And that is because given that this committee deals with PS 104 proceedings, PS 104 requires that the faculty who serve on the faculty review board be full professors. And so in order to maintain their eligibility to serve in that process, we have decided that it makes sense to require the members of the committee be full professors. We currently have 2 candidates and 4 to 7 openings, given that we have 8 members now. So Daniel Kuroda from Science, Aaron Sheehan Dean from HSS. Is there a motion to hold elections for the Faculty Appeals Board? Thank you, Dr. Cook. All right, is there a second? Thank you, second. All right, now, do we have 2 to 5 full professors in the room or have candidates you wish to put up for nomination, if not yourself, for the Faculty Appeals Board, in addition to Drs. Kuroda and Sheehan Dean? I warn you, I've developed a long tolerance of standing awkwardly in front of a room of people based on years of teaching, so. All right, well, we will proceed with our 2 candidates for today, and then we will revisit this as we go strong-arm other people into putting their names forward. However, for today, it appears that the nominations process has closed, that our 2 candidates are elected by acclamation, and my thanks to them both for being willing to serve. That concludes our new business for today, and so I am pleased to welcome to the platform Senior Vice Provost Jane Cassidy, who is going to revisit the International Travel Registry that was discussed at our last meeting and present some new information since that time. Dr. Cassidy?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. If you were here last time, you remember that I am serving on a committee that was tasked with developing an international travel registry so that when people are abroad, that we know where our faculty and staff and students are. It was a very spirited discussion, and I actually stayed after, and there was a nice little reception, and I had a chance to talk with 5 or 6 of you, and I heard loud and clear your concerns about things. So I took it back to our committee, and the biggest concern that I heard about this registry was that it appeared that, and it was true, that you had to do double work. So you had to put in all of your information, and then you had to go to another form and you had to put all of your information, and there was one new piece of information. So we have changed that. Now in the spend authorization, if you have traveled lately, you know that there is a 10-question little survey, I think, that you do. So we are going to add, I believe, 2 questions to that survey that provide just a little bit of different information that we need. And so it will stay in the spend authorization, and we can run our report. Should we need to know who is in wherever it is, we can run our report for faculty and staff through that. We still don't have students, and there is no way. The reason that the form originally was designed is so we could run one report. We've decided now we will take that on and not have to just run one report because we don't have the technology, believe it or not, to do that. So students are going to have to fill out the registry form. We've had students in our office do it. It takes about 6 or 7 minutes to do it. So it's kind of like the 10 questions that you already answer on your spend authorization. They will have to do that for the travel registry. And we're still working out the details about how guests would be in there. Probably many of you don't deal with guests, but occasionally you have grants where you take people from other institutions on research trips or whatever. Those people have no educational affiliation with LSU, so they can't be in Workday or Workday student. So we're going to have to figure that piece out, but we were going to have to figure that out before. We are delaying this. We said we were going to put it out October 1st. We are delaying it now until January, which actually gives us a chance to embed in the spend authorization all of the information for international high-risk travel. So if any of you have gone to high-risk areas recently, you know it's a 4 or 5 page handwritten application form, or whatever we call it, in order to do that. And it is circled through email with individual, it just takes forever to do it. So anyway, we're going to embed that also in the spend authorization for you. So you will have everything all in one place, and we will be able to run a report. I want you to know that we're still, our mission is to keep faculty and students and staff safe. So we will be able to run a report for faculty and staff. We will run a report for the students, and we will have some mechanism to know the guests that we are responsible for internationally. So last time I said October 1st, it's now probably going to be January 1st, and I will provide you all of the real detailed information once it's all worked out. I want to thank you for the discussion last time. It's very helpful when you bring up, I know there's a lot of frustrations. I feel your pain. I do understand. And it's great that you expressed it, because we could make a positive change. And I think this is a much better, the outcome is much better. And that's what we want to provide for you. So if there are questions, I'm happy to, the minutiae is not worked out yet, but the overall, I think we've met the biggest concern that there was last time. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'd like to thank the Senior Vice Provost for being responsive to the feedback received last time. And I think this is a great example of the collaborative relationship between academic affairs and the faculty, and ending up in a reasonable position that can address both of our needs. So thank you, and thank you for coming back as well. Next up, we have our last agenda item, which is a presentation by Broty Stelly, Communications Specialist, Parking and Transportation Services, and they will address the current state of LSU parking and transportation. So Broty, if you'd like to please come to the front.
Yes, everybody's favorite, am I right? Just kidding. I noticed by the lack of applause that y'all are very excited for me to be here. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Broty Stelly, and I do serve as the communications specialist for one of the best jobs here on campus, which is parking and transportation. I wanted to be with you all here just to kind of give y'all a little bit of insight as to where we have been with parking, where we're at right now, and kind of the position of where we will be moving towards in the future. Not the most ideal bit of news that y'all are probably going to hear, but I do want to keep all of y'all in the loop, just kind of where we're at and where we have our hands currently. Before I kind of get into some of the impacts that y'all have seen in this most recent past, probably over the summer, the last spring semester, kind of where we stand going forward, I do want to remind everybody of this overarching campus master plan that we have. Back in October of 2017, Planning, Design, and Construction had released this master plan where they see campus over the course of the next 10 to 15 years. And then in 2019 is whenever the mobility annex was added on, and that's where parking and transportation kind of came into the mix. Currently, I'm sure as faculty, y'all know a lot about enrollment numbers and everything that comes from that. We're sitting at around 45,000 students paired with roughly 2,000 faculty and then slightly under 4,000 staff that we have. We're looking at around between 50 and 52,000 people that make up the Baton Rouge LSU campus. Of course, not everybody is here all at the exact same time, but that amount of people does technically classify us according to, the, what is it called? Census, the Bureau of the Census. We are technically a small metropolitan city. So with that being said, there has been a lot of landscape shifts happen in the past and will continue to happen in the future. That makes the ease that we've had whenever it comes to parking a little bit more difficult to sustain. You're going to see a lot more academic buildings, a lot more auxiliary services popping up on those core areas of campus. And since there is kind of a battle for land, we can't just make land out of nowhere. Some of the things that are going to get cut and moved a little bit further out is these parking lots that we have. So as we're kind of getting in, I wanted to refresh all of the construction impacts for this fall semester. So y'all might have noticed a lot of construction happening on South Quad Drive, and construction that will continue to happen. So that's going to be happening in the Touchdown Village East lot with our enrollment numbers going up, especially as we still maintain this first year living experience with students. Res Life was looking to build a new dorm, and that new dorm is going to take place in our Touchdown Village East lot, which if you look at the map, that's going to be that massive orange lot down there. That is kind of a big upset to our commuter students. Y'all might have heard of the commuter cap that we've had this year, but it also does affect some of our faculty and staff that do have employee A permits as well. So you are going to see a little bit more, I guess, restraint whenever it comes to finding those parking spaces in that area, just because we don't have, that 1,100 spaces. So the majority of spaces are currently offline. This was a screenshot that was taken earlier this week, aka yesterday, of our map. So 700 spaces are offline currently while they're staging, getting ready to build that dorm. And then mid-October, that bottom strip of A spaces, that's also going to go offline once they start bringing in all of the excavators and the cranes and all of that stuff. So we're looking at that entire lot is going to be off until they say fall 27 is when they're planning on having that dorm kind of ready for those new students. So we're looking at around 1.5 to 2 years of a good bit of parking on campus kind of being off done. And then also the interdisciplinary science building that is going to be finishing construction in late spring. And so we're going to see kind of a shift of a lot of our science staff move more into that core area of campus. I know a lot of that staff and faculty offices have been located in Hatcher Hall. With this new building being finished, those people are going to want to, of course, park a little bit closer to their new designated building. So we might see a little bit of campus congestion as some of the people that have been parking in these A and B spaces located on more of the western outer side of campus by Tiger Stadium, they are going to want to, travel in a little bit more, start parking in some of those B and C. So we wanted to put it on y'all's radar. But as a result of this construction, we have made a few different rezoning changes to help alleviate, not solve the problem, but alleviate some of the issues that have arisen. So as far as the faculty club lot, that's that lot that's located in the core of campus right across Veterans Drive. That used to be visitor parking only. It is now for our B permit holders. So that will kind of help alleviate some of the congestion as far as finding a B space. Current complaint that we have is that finding a B space, especially on Tower Drive or in that loop next to the student union, is awful. We completely hear everything that you'll have to say. Opening up faculty club lot to B parking adds around 80 spaces into the mix. The Welcome Center C lot, we saw a very low amount of C permit holders being utilized. There was around 40 spaces on the back half of that lot. There were additional spaces on the backside, so that Chime C lot as well as the Music Hall lot. So we decided to switch that entirely to visitor to kind of offset the B parking that we've had. The Union Square Garage third floor, that was previously visitor parking, but we've since changed that to the Union Square Garage. And new to this year, we've allowed employees, faculty, and staff become eligible. So if you find yourself on the core of campus, a lot of your classes are there. We do have Union Square Garage employee permits that are available for purchase. And then a wait list that is also going to be formed for people that, have not gotten those permits at that time. Facility Services West lot and the Facility Services lot by itself, those were changed from B parking to C parking, as well as that EB Doran and those Kogan lots. That is just because we're going to get into this a little bit. The library construction project is about to happen. We are going to be seeing a kind of offset of B and C spaces in the Forestry Lane C lot and Electrical Engineering B lot, because that is where the library is going to be going. So those lots are going to have to be cleared. So to kind of like proactively kind of, anticipate some of this outward push that we have with parking spaces. Some of the B in that area has been switched to C. And then this is where we kind of get into the South Quad lot and Touchdown Village West Triangle. Those were previously actually grass areas and commuter spaces, but we went ahead and developed that lot. If y'all are looking at this, I wonder if this mouse, yes, it does. Okay. So this lot, and this lot actually used to just be grass next to this canal. So there was no eligibility to park there at all. A lot of the construction we saw this past summer was them laying down gravel and striping and adding in those kind of like safety lights to ensure that it's an adequate lot. And we've introduced that. So while it does kind of offset some of the parking impacts that are going to happen here, we also have two different B lots that are added. So a lot of your, engineering, business, a lot of coast, a lot of people that typically have classes and stuff on that southern portion of campus. There are still a large amount of B spaces that are eligible for you and like your fellow coworkers. It just might require a little bit of a walk whenever it comes to getting to some of those academic buildings on the south side. And then also the Pentagon lot. So that's going to be on the north side of campus, right next to the Pentagon, also very close to music and dramatic arts. Those were previously residential spaces. Those have since been changed to be parking to kind of help alleviate some of these offsets that we see in the core areas of campus. Is everybody still with me? The pitchforks are still down as of now? Okay, awesome. So kind of like that's where we currently stand with all of our parking. These were some of the, I would like to mention, these are some of the issues that were brought to us and we were kind of having to look for a solution. These were kind of the best ones that we can come up with at the time, seeing the resources that we have. But I also wanted to keep y'all in the loop as far as things that are going to be happening over the course of the next spring semester, furthering into summer and some of the extensive future that we have. So that library project, that is going to happen. It's probably going to start happening, officially breaking ground towards the end of spring, very beginning of summer. To kind of get people acclimated to this change, we had sent out an email to a lot of B permit holders last year, just giving them the, hey, this is a year heads up. But realistically, what's going to happen is this Forestry Lane C lot is going to go completely offline come the beginning of the spring semester. So a lot of people who utilize that Forestry Lane C lot, y'all will no longer have access to this lot just because that's where a lot of the staging and preparation for the library construction project is going to begin happening. So as a result, this B lot, the electrical engineering B lot, is going to be rezoned to C. So a lot of the people that have those B passes that park in electrical engineering, y'all will be able to start parking in that new B lot that we, opened up on the South Quad as well as the Quad West Triangle. Those areas that we've kind of like rezoned, that's to kind of help with the, offset of this parking project. So this lot will be rezoned to C parking. So a lot of these people that are here, they are going to be upset about getting pushed out. So this is kind of what we were able to offer them. We were saying, hey, okay, eventually nobody's going to park here. So for this next semester, you can park a little bit further. And during that time, understand that it's going to go away. So at that point, you can either start looking to get a B pass for different areas of campus, or maybe a Union Square Garage pass, or look to put your name on a specific C lot wait list or relocate your lot, different things like that. But in the meantime, C permit holders will have access to electrical engineering B lot for the rest of the spring semester. And then this is pulled directly from the master plan. You'll see that the academic spine kind of runs up through here. So nobody will be able to park in that lot whenever that project is done. And like I said, this is all just part of the campus mobility plan. So it's actually a very fascinating document. There's a lot of cool things and, I guess heartbreak for people that like the way that things were, but it kind of outlines where LSU is going in terms of not only the miniature city that it is, but the academic institution that we strive to be. So there's a lot of emphasis on outward parking, more transit, more biking, more pedestrian safety, not only for our students, but for our faculty and staff as well. And so that's kind of the shift that we're going to see. It's just everything is starting to actually happen. The first few years of the plan has been a lot of like planning and, hey, heads up, this is coming. We've officially started that part of the plan where, hey, it's here and it is happening. So our main goals of this mobility plan is to kind of shift more towards this transit, like utilizing transit whenever it comes to your daily commute. Like I said, small metropolitan city, that's the mindset that we have to kind of think of going into the future. Big areas like DC, like Chicago, like New York, while I'm saying we're nowhere near there, they utilize a lot more public transportation. Not only does it make it safer for pedestrians, it's just with the amount of people it's what's proven to be successful. And so that's something that planning, design, and construction have kind of incorporated, and that's the area that we're moving to. Like I said, prioritizing safety and accessibility, and they're balancing this campus growth with the limited amount of land and parking space that we currently have. So y'all might have heard of Park and Go. So that is kind of the system that was created a few years ago. We've been doing a lot of enhancements and expansions to it, and we will continue to do that as the years kind of go on. And there's just going to be a strategic reduction to central parking, as we've kind of seen. We're switching a lot of those B spaces to C, kind of pushing everybody out, because eventually there isn't going to be much of any parking in the core of campus. It's going to be a lot of these academic buildings and these, student support services. So as far as the next phase, of course, we saw all of that construction that's happening as far as taking away some of the spaces. On our end, this is the next phase of our Park and Go plan. So currently our Park and Go lot is a small bus hub that's located in the slot right here. We could fit around 6 buses in there fully. So it kind of is a quick turnaround, or sometimes there can be traffic or I guess transit congestion whenever it comes to like those first few weeks of school. So right after football is over, we have gotten approval to go ahead and start the actual Park and Go hub. So this is going to allow us to like have it be a fully developed and reliable transit service rather than a bus stop next to a lot, where it will be this building. It's going to have, restrooms, bathrooms, seating area. It's going to have the vending machines, different stuff like that. So it's a true transit hub that will allow not only the Park and Go route, but other bus routes as well, to kind of go through and have that quick and easy access to pick up students, faculty, staff, and get them into those core areas of campus. So like I said, very limited space. So of course, this is going to be built on the outer skirts of campus. And this is really going to allow us to kind of establish that safe, affordable, predictable kind of transit service. Park and Go right now is currently like prorated at $50 for the entire year, just because this is a buy-in program. The current state of living in the South or living in an area like Baton Rouge is a lot of, comfort and having quick and easy access to your vehicle and stuff like that. We understand that telling people, hey, you're probably going to need to use the bus to get to your office isn't something that you want to hear. So that is why, the rate for a C pass is much, much higher than the rate for a Park and Go pass. It's $50, as we just ask you to kind of like utilize our free bus system to get you where you need to go. I would like to say that this isn't a issue that's unique to LSU. A lot of SEC schools we're seeing a rise in enrollment across the board. We're seeing a big boost. Everybody wants to go to the South for college. Everybody wants to have that SEC experience. And so other institutions across the South are also kind of going through the same exact thing. And it all comes down to really and truly my last bullet point. There's a very high demand for parking, a very high demand for convenience, and we have a very limited amount of land and resources that we can do stuff with. But yes, this is going to be the plan. It starts right after the end of this football season. It's one of our expedited construction projects, so it would be expected to like do full operations come fall of 2026. So that is an option for you guys. If y'all aren't having the B passes, or you're not really messing with C, you feel as though you're paying too much for a service that doesn't really benefit you and you still have to walk, we definitely recommend doing some research on Park and Go, possibly utilizing that as an option. It's a drastically cheaper option. It is a reliable service. We've expanded it. We've actually doubled it this past year just because we've seen a lot of students, and we plan to continue to take note of those numbers, continue to expand it, continue to have multiple buses going to multiple different core areas of campus, just to kind of like make things a little bit easier for every person that belongs to the LSU system. So I did also have some frequently asked questions. I'm sure that after hearing the things that I had to say, there's some, assumptions or different things that y'all might have regarding some of the statements. What is the focus of this master plan? Like I kind of mentioned, it emphasizes the academic growth and the modern infrastructure of our campus. That's kind of the main point of a college institution, is the students, the classes, the academic experience. And so that is why we're seeing a lot of strive towards more academic buildings, more student support services, more green spaces for studying. And parking and transportation is a factor, but the priority is creating, campus that supports the long-term mission of the university. Why are parking spaces moving out of the core of campus? Central campus, that's some of the most valuable and limited space that we have. In order to expand these classrooms and build more academic, buildings and different stuff like that, we have to unfortunately take it in the parking lots. That's anytime you have any type of urban planning, parking lots are typically kind of the first things to go. So spaces are just kind of being shifted outwards to preserve access while we still have access to those specific lots. Will we be adding additional parking? While we have been able to add short-term parking to help alleviate some of the situations, the overall campus master plan and the mobility annex does not see an increase in parking spaces in those core areas of campus. We still have an adequate amount of parking. It's just going to become more of a proximity issue because I'm not saying pretty soon, but like within the years, nobody is really going to have that quick and easy access to park right outside of their building and walk, right inside. It's going to become more of a commuting service. So like I said, it focuses on rebalancing where parking is located to support some of these like student spaces. So it's all about just kind of like seeing with the available lots that we have, where can we put, because we understand we don't want to push y'all all the way out to the levee just quite yet. It's a kind of a phase out process. I'm sure the biggest question, which obviously makes the most sense, is why don't we build a garage? I think that is a great question. Unfortunately, garages are some of the most expensive structures anybody could buy within any industry. The rate to build a garage right now, a 3-floor garage is $30 million. A 5-floor garage is $50 million. The average cost per space within a parking garage is $25,000 per space. Whenever you account for all of the concrete, the rebars, the stability, the labor, the permits, all of that great stuff. Parking is an auxiliary service. We do not have a lot of money. We are kind of barely making ends meet as it is right now. We don't have a plethora of flow to just kind of throw up a garage. Also kind of considering a garage would take 3 to 5 years out of a particular lot just to build it before we can add in some of these additional spaces. So it's just kind of our hands were tied in that situation. Like I said, the master plan kind of prioritizes resources near these academic facilities. So instead of garages, we're wanting to put a larger emphasis on transit into those core areas of campus. I know I keep saying transit. It might not be the best thing to swallow at the moment, but it just is kind of the future of working and being part of such a large scale community. And so how does this master plan compare to other universities? Many SEC campuses are also facing the same challenge. There's limited land in this core area just because of where they're positioned. The campus itself has a lot of appeal, so businesses and apartment communities and stuff like that come up around, and it drives economic growth within the city, but it also does take away a lot of the land. So other universities are moving to, surface parking around the perimeter, using the resource that they have, building garages before it kind of like catches up and it is too late. But it's our approach with the entire parking crisis is very consistent with the national trend. And that just kind of falls back to prioritizing, the academic aspect, and the campus planning and transportation is all kind of I wouldn't say an afterthought, but it's a what comes next. Some of the additional questions regarding our mobility plan. What's the focus of that? That's really and truly just our plan for how to move people into the core of campus and different areas around campus as well. Whether that be, car, bus, bike, scooters, walking, anything like that. Y'all have seen these spin scooters that have showed up around. Tiger Trails isn't anything new. Tiger Trails has been going around for the past 10 years now. And so we have different routes that will just circulate. We have 4 on-campus circulators. So as far as like getting from one building to another for a different class, or maybe you have meetings, in a different core area of campus, we do already have these existing, buses and routes that are kind of going around. And then we also have these 8 services that will take students and faculty and staff from different off-campus areas into those core areas as well. So, if parking is moving outwards, how will I get to the core of campus? Like I said, we're improving these shuttle routes constantly. We're taking everybody's notes, thoughts, accountability, complaints, different stuff like that, and using it to kind of develop our transit system as it stands. But that with bike, pedestrian infrastructure, and just, walking, wayfinding, different stuff like that, that is the landscape that we're moving towards. Why not solve the problem by adding more parking? I agree. Simply adding spaces, it just doesn't solve the traffic congestion, safety, or land use issues the mobility plan focuses on an efficiency like way of moving people into some of these larger areas. Is this approach common? Yes. Like I said, a bunch of SEC universities do that, or are currently doing this and will continue to do it with the future. Will I have to walk further to class? Yes. Some lots are further out, but the plan does include to expand our shuttle, transportation opportunities to kind of get you as close to your class doors as possible. Like I said, the mobility plan and the master plan are fully available online. Y'all can look at kind of see the plans that they have. Not only are like some of these lots going away, but a lot of like pedestrian walkways are going to be added in, making it very safe. As well as like bike paths as well. So it's going to be just kind of moving towards a more sustainable and micro transportation way. Why are we investing in transit instead of garages? Like I said, garages are very, very expensive and require much higher permit costs. That was another thing as far as like raising permit costs to purchase a garage. We would see like almost a double to triple in permit costs in order for us to afford to build a garage within the next few years. That's not something that we want to spring on any faculty or staff that we have. Parking already seems expensive enough as it is. We wouldn't want to just like hike that out of nowheres. And how does this improve safety? I mean, reducing vehicle congestion in the core of campus, it kind of creates that more safer environment for pedestrians and cyclists and scooterists. The plan emphasizes lighting, walkways, and well-designed transit stops in order to improve both safety and comfort within those core areas of campus where we see anywhere from 20 to 30,000 people on a daily basis. So these are just some of the frequently asked questions regarding the master plan and the mobility plan. I'm sure that there might still be some that are unanswered. So if y'all did have any, I will do my darndest to try to answer, or I will take note and bring it back to one of my supervisors. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Charles Dozell from the math department, and
Hi.
I work on Fieldhouse Drive.
Yes.
And there's a bunch of buildings on Fieldhouse like Cox Auditorium and Hatcher and Hodges and
Yes.
Lockett and others. Anyway, a couple of years ago, you all dug it up and did a lot of work, and now the work is finished. But now it is less friendly than before for pedestrians, buses, and B permit holders.
Really?
For pedestrians, it's less friendly because after this construction, you planted a big row of azalea bushes right in front of the steps of Lockett Hall.
Mm.
And that's thousands of students go in and out of those steps every day. Eventually, you took down some of the bushes and allowed a narrow passage, but it's still not as free to go in and out of the building as it used to be. And, you say we're getting to be like a metropolitan city, but big cities don't plant bushes in front of the entrance doors to big buildings.
I agree.
And also to get across the street or from the street to other buildings, Hodges and Hatcher, now you have to walk a long detour to get around a big row of bushes. And it wasn't that bad before. I don't see why we can't go back to the previous landscaping. I mean, it's green, but a big city is not green. A big city has access for pedestrians. Number two, for buses. You say we want to have buses close to the center of campus. Well, Fieldhouse Drive used to have about 10 bus routes that would all have their central hub on Fieldhouse Drive. And that is very close to the center of campus. Now you took that away. Now the buses have their central hub at the vet school, which is not at the center of campus. I mean, it's good for the vet school, but not for the center. So why can't we go back to the old geometry of the street and allow buses to come back to where they were? That's part of the new age, to have buses in the center. And also B permit parking. I don't know how many B permits there were at that time, but several dozen cars were able to park there, and now they're not. Now, it's more friendly to the bikes, but there's precious few bicycles actually using those bike lanes. But as I say, for pedestrians, buses, and cars, it's less friendly than before. And all I ask is that you go back to how it was 2 years ago.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Having those azalea bushes there does not help anybody. Unfortunately, that is an issue that falls completely out of parking and transportation services. I would ask you to take that up with planning, design, and construction or landscape services. We had no say whenever it kind of came to that area. But as far as adding in kind of a pedestrian zone, that is something that is within our realm. And I do agree, having to walk all the way up to almost the roundabout to cross the street does seem kind of like an inconvenient. Is this being used? Can I write? Okay, perfect. I have it right here. I could definitely take that note and ask for a motion to add an additional pedestrian route just to kind of make it easier as far as crossing. To answer your second point, whenever it comes to having that kind of central hub near Lockett Hall, It is still a very large prominent stop. A lot of our bus routes still go there. It's just not a big hub anymore because a hub is the area where those buses can park for an extended period of time. Like I said, land is a very high demand, very valuable thing on campus right now. And so just having it in that area isn't something that necessarily fell within PDC's master plan. And that's just the call that they made. A lot of times we see them make these calls and kind of go forward, and we deal with what comes with afterwards. And so while I can't guarantee you or say that, yeah, we'll go back to the previous geometry of that area, I can assure you that we do still have transit going through that area and making those stops. It's just as far as like where these buses are stopping for longer periods of time, that's no longer in kind of a central area. We've determined that the most possible way is to have that hub behind the Union, and then that hub out in where the Park and Go hub is going to be at. So those are our two right now. Yeah, Lockett, I mean, there are 7 routes that will run through and stop at the Lockett Hall, so it still allows people to kind of get to those core areas. Like I said, Park and Go, whenever it was expanded, there's an entire route that just goes from the hub to Lockett, as far as like transporting faculty, staff, and students from kind of that offset by the vet school area to kind of a centralized area of campus. But unfortunately, that it's just something that parking does not have any say whenever it comes to where we're breaking ground or where we're building or where we're removing anything. That all falls completely underneath facilities and planning and design and construction. And so we kind of operate at the will of what they do and what they leave us with. So I'm sorry that it's not the answer that you want to hear. I will definitely still ask about adding in that pedestrian area, and maybe we could talk more as far as like what you're wanting to see out of this like hub. Maybe we can talk about getting with our TDM manager and talking about maybe a longer yield time whenever it comes to the buses waiting to pick up students, if it's a factor of like transit or kind of keeping things flowing. Just as far as like breaking ground or bringing things back to the good old days. I can't make any promises like that.
It's the same buildings as always.
Right.
Yet you say the land is so precious. Same land as it was 2 years ago.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. No, I absolutely agree.
Okay.
Hi. Oh, you're
We go Baldridge, okay.
So my name is Scott Baldridge. I'm also in the Department of Mathematics. Maybe this is the wrong, I'm looking for a very short answer.
Okay.
I just had the experience of walking from the quad into Coates Hall. And there's this beautiful long under archway where people walk, right? We all know where that is. A scooter missed me by, like, I could feel the wind as it rushed by me.
Yes.
At about 25 miles an hour. And it came out of nowhere. Like it. And it was acting like the person was like, why are you taking my thing? Like it was bad. All right, can you don't have to answer as much as, can you find out who needs to hear about this so that we can have police that actually give tickets on a walkway?
Absolutely.
People-
I will, yeah. No, I will stand with you when I say that the scooterists are not my favorite people on this campus either. There is a minute level of entitlement that comes with having a scooter that is not appreciated on any aspect that you're in. As far as things that we can do and can control, the spin scooters that we have contracted, as far as like letting people have this micro transportation, those have dead zones across campus. So areas around Tiger Stadium, around the Union, around the quad, people cannot operate those spin scooters. So the person that was about to pelay you out in the middle of the quad, those are people that have their own private scooters. That's where we're looking at some of our athletes. We're looking at some of our people that just wanted to bring their own scooter and stuff like that. As far as what can be brought forward, there is currently a policy committee that is happening. It's conjunction or being headed up by LSU PD. Our director for parking and transportation does sit on that community. There's other people as well. The EOC, risk management, those people are trying to kind of come up with a for sure policy on scooters. Scooters is kind of something that's new in the realm of micro transportation. We saw a big boom in it around 10 years ago with bird scooters, and now people realize that they could just kind of have their own and keep it with them. I know that from a res life side, or like their point of view, residents cannot have those scooters in those halls. So a lot of this is these second year and up students that, you know, will drive to campus and then get on their scooter just so they don't have to walk. Oh, absolutely. It's smart if they're used correctly, right? So that is where, I mean, I can follow up with that committee. Unfortunately, I'm kind of low on the parking totem pole. But as far as like where they are at with having that policy, where they're at with communicating it, but that is something that once they nail down that policy, it is expected that LSU PD would be able to enforce that and take more true action whenever it comes to reprimanding some of these people, because I can assure you're not to discredit, but your experience is not unique. I've also been almost hit by a scooter. Raise your hand if you've almost been hit by a scooter on campus. Yeah, they're not our favorite people. And so it's just kind of in that awkward stage of, we know it's an issue and we're trying to find the right people who can give us the right answers in order for us to nail down a policy and kind of go forward with it. But I will definitely check up and kind of urge our director to get back on that.
And if I could just add on to that, that's okay. I do sit on the Campus Safety and Security Committee, and we have spent an inordinate amount of time on scooters, and that is where the geofencing came in for like the quad and things like that. That is where now you see stickers on buildings, not just residential halls, but all campus buildings now have to be scooter free because of the risk of fire due to the batteries. And there is a subcommittee that is looking at how do we put in more regulations for the use of scooters on campus, also addressing the question of who's going to be responsible for enforcement. So there has been some, positive changes that have happened, and there's still a lot of work going on because they are very aware, right, personally, and then also from hearing from faculty, staff, and students about issues that have arisen with this on campus. So it is being worked on, but it is taking a bit of time. Dr. Jacquet.
Hey, Broty, thanks for this great presentation and for all the transparency. Have you guys talked to Baton Rouge, like the CATS system to like expand and improve? Because like I live in Mid-City, I would totally take a bus to campus if I could, but I can't because it take like 45 minutes and there's no direct bus routes and the bus,
Yeah.
So has there been any conversations to like actually make our public transportation in the city better?
Yeah. So we have had a lot of meetings, kind of, I would say not yearning, but like urging CATS to work a little bit with us. But they're not as responsive as we would like them to be. They are also kind of going through a little bit of I wouldn't say a budgetary issue. But when it kind of comes to this, we've had this very booming growth within the city of Baton Rouge, of course, with LSU, but also like Greater Baton Rouge as well. And I think the urban planning wasn't fully thought out, or the proper budget allocation whenever it comes to like transportation is not there. They're running into some of the same issues that we have. A lot of people want a lot of these routes and they want them to go almost to their door, but if not, I could at least to their neighborhood, and they want it to be a lot inclusive, which is great and definitely something that can be done if they have proper funding. So we have talked to CATS as far as like they do have stops across the surrounding neighborhoods of LSU, and even stops throughout like campus. But as far as like hitting up areas like Mid-City, the Garden District, stuff like that, they are not willing at the moment to partner with LSU or offer any type of reliable transportation. And I'm sorry that, I wish we had better partnerships with them. It's just an unfortunate situation, but very good question. And thank you.
We probably have time for two more questions.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for the presentation. Again, I'm going to bring up a number of things with scooters. I don't think we should be allowing scooters. One, students see the markings on the wall. They still bring the scooters in the building. There's a major fire hazard here. I basically played Dodge scooter. And number three, they basically park them, throw them everywhere. They park them in faculty parking spots and everything. The only way I see this is that each scooter has a license, and if it's reported, that student loses privilege. It's the only way, because at the moment, also these hoverboards that they're bringing in, you're putting disabled everybody at risk by doing this. I don't think scooters are the way to go. There's too much. Unless you put a speed limit or something, then they bring their private. They're not going to obey the laws. I don't think scooters are safe at all.
No, I agree.
And I'd like to see them removed from the micro transit Bikes is a different story. Non-motorized scooters is another one, but the motorized scooters should not be allowed.
Right. I agree. All right. Thank you for the points. I very much appreciate the potential fix of a license to each scooter, and that would be kind of a way to hold the students accountable. That's definitely something I can bring up. I can't say I have the power to remove them from the transportation, but everything you said, I agree with fully. And that's something that I'll bring up to our director. Thank you.
And perhaps time for one more question. I think we have a question, or we can do two. We see two hands up.
Okay.
Hi.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. Revati Kumar from Chemistry. This is a question about Friday before game day.
Yes.
So the daycare is on Greer Avenue, it's the LSU daycare. And you're going in there on Greer Avenue at 3:30 p.m. The only way to enter is turning right on Touchdown, that road, and then you turn left into the daycare. You can come out to Greer.
Okay.
At 3:30, there are barricades. You can go out, but you can't come in. At 3:30, even though the email says 6 p.m., this is not a one-time thing. This has happened multiple times.
Okay.
And that is something that I think is unacceptable because the daycare is open at 5:15.
No,
And the
absolutely.
email says 6, but this has happened. The daycare has complained and they finally asked me, in the faculty senate, can you bring this up? I said, yes, I will. So
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry that has happened to you. That's something that I could definitely forward to athletics. Unfortunately, we send it on behalf of our department just because we have the emails that are associated with the permits for whenever y'all buy permits and y'all park in that area. All game day parking is handled by LSU Athletics. Starting Thursday, like midday, athletics kind of takes over all of our operations. And so their officers are the ones that are putting those barricades. So I am sorry. I will write that down and I will tell our events manager to forward that, that the barricades should actually not be going out until 6 p.m. like we've been marketing. So I do apologize on behalf of our department, I guess extensively on behalf of athletics, and I will see that we make that improvement within this next week and the following home games. Sorry about that.
Okay. Dr. Matza, and then our two additional questions, and then hopefully we will.
Yes. Well, thank you for the presentation. I have two questions. The first one is for the sake of transparency. Can you tell us for the next faculty meeting how much that garage next to Barnes and Noble cost to the university, and if that garage is paid off already or not?
Yeah.
Because we heard from the past administration, from the head of the university, that garages are actually a good business for the university. That's exactly what he said.
No, absolutely. And garages are, especially if they're utilized as kind of like a visitor parking garage, because it's an hourly rate and that's kind of like a steady like revenue flow. Currently, that garage that we have, that was around $55 million to build. And that was by 2011 standards. That's whenever that was finished. We are still paying on that garage, and it was a 20-year deal. So we're not expected to finish paying that off until 2031. I would love to have more garages. In fact, through the master plan it's like a 68-page document. There are plans to actually build garages by university funding on the most east side of campus near like the UREC, another one on the south side of campus kind of near Tiger Stadium, and there's another one I can't recall off the top of my head. So people have plans to build garages, and we do have mock-ups of garages, and we would love to do it if the university can pay for it. Parking, since we are technically an auxiliary service, we only can spend as much money as we make, and we do not make that much money. Like our permit fees as they stand, and our transportation fees and rates and stuff like that haven't grown over the past 8 years. And so we're pulling in revenue from 8 years ago with cost of today. So to answer your question, no, it's not paid off. It will be paid off by 2031. It costs $55 million. I agree with you that parking garages are actually a great business if they're utilized in this visitor aspect. But with the current state of, parking in the master plan that we're in right now, as we're kind of pushing these spaces out, we've been able to utilize garages for less visitor spaces and more to alleviate some of these B, C relocations just within the time being.
Yeah. Well, that's for my second question, because when you read the story about the garage building here at LSU, the cost of the garage is $22 million, and you said 55. So it would be nice to have a kind of a story of how much really that garage costs.
I actually very much wish it was 22.
Yeah, if you look at the news released by the university, that's what it says. So it will be nice to have a clear idea of how much that garage costs by the end. So
Yeah.
that's something that you can work with them. And my second question is about the students.
Yeah.
Have you talked to the students about this plan? Have you consulted with the students about this plan? Because I am thinking the students are going to spend at least 30 minutes to go from that remote parking to come to class.
Yes.
And then are going to spend another 30 minutes to go back from classes to the remote parking.
Yes.
Our students work. We are becoming very much a kind of commuter university because our students need to work after classes.
Yes.
And that remote program works very well for the staff who are here all day, but not for the students who need to go to work after classes. So I wonder about that impact, how it's going to impact our campus, because the garage, that remote parking plan works very well if you have your core students here living on campus. But that is not our case. Only our freshman class live here on campus.
Yeah.
And even they cannot be totally accommodated. So we need to think about what is going to be the impact for the second, third, and fourth year students.
Oh, absolutely. No, so we have been in communication with students. We do have a student advisory committee and a very good working relationship with our student body president as well as the transportation and safety director within the Department of Student Government and other representatives across the board. It's kind of in the same boat as faculty. It's not the most ideal, and some people are going to be upset by the situation, but we have made solutions to alleviate. That park and go system that we have right now has 2 separate routes with 2 shuttles on each route that are constantly circulating, so that yield time is between 15 and 20 minutes. Whenever you think about a student who utilizes park and go versus a student who utilizes a commuter lot or a commuter permit, those who have those commuter permits are going to spend around 15 to 20 minutes just circling the lot looking for that spot, because everybody has this proximity mindset that they want the closest lot and the closest spot. So they're going to circle until they come to terms that they're going to need to park a little bit further out, and then they park, and then they take this 10 to 15 minute walk. So a commuter on average will already spend around 25 to 40 minutes whenever it comes to leaving their house to getting to their class building. It's not that much of a difference whenever it comes to park and go, because these shuttles will be able to bypass all of that lot traffic, all of that, and get them to those core areas of campus, such as PFT, Lockett Hall, near the BEC, the student union. And that's just what we've expanded so far, like this semester. We are looking to continue to add. I think for the sake of time, we've kept it to those minimal stops just because we want the yield time to be very quick. We want to pick you up from here. We want to get you into the core of campus, and we want to drop you off. If that means that you have to take an additional 3-minute walk to your building or an additional 5-minute walk to building, it's something that everybody's just going to be upset whenever it comes to any, I guess, minor offset of what they've had in the past. But as we kind of continue to expand this route more, we are going to be able to afford more stops on these routes, because the yield time will just kind of like go down as we add more buses, as we add a different flow plan. So it's not to completely say that a commuter student, can get there within 15 minutes. Meanwhile, a park and go, those routes have still been going well. We have, of course, the student advisory committee, and we've asked all of them to take account of, what's your time from getting onto campus to getting to your class as a commuter, and also as a park and go goer. So we are collecting this data. It's pretty consistent across the board.
Well, I can tell you from my experience in a big city like Chicago, the parking garage, that lot, that commuter, is only 1.5 miles from the campus. And it took 30 minutes to do the commuting because of traffic from going to the main campus to the garage.
Absolutely.
And it's the traffic that they will have to cross, because those garage parking lots are going to be next to the river.
Yeah.
So, and I think that there will be an impact on our retention. So all our efforts to retain our students so that they can continue and complete their degree, they can very, very much be in danger just because of this garage parking, because they are going to feel like it's impossible to work and be in class. I will have to keep skipping classes just because I need to work, because it's impossible to park. I spend so much time doing the commuting. So there is a very clear impact on our students' life with this parking, because you have to take into consideration that seniors, juniors, and sophomores are not living here on campus.
Mhm.
They are commuting. And the reason why they bring their cards is because after classes, they are going to work. They are on their way to work.
Yeah.
So we are going to be affecting that direction. And they are not going to have money to pay for their bills and for their school. And that is going to be a big impact on us. So that's all I want to say, because I want to make sure that you are, the office is already taking into consideration these things.
Yeah.
Because I have seen it. I spent my first sabbatical in Chicago, and I used that commuting, and I was like, what is this for a mile and a half? Well, in winter, you have to do it. You cannot walk when it's 0 Fahrenheit outside. It's the same here. You cannot walk if you are 100 Fahrenheit outside, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So as long as you have into consideration all these things, I am fine with the parking and your plans. Thank you.
Oh, no, absolutely, absolutely.
Just two more questions quickly.
I'll be very quick. Sorry about that. So I just want to say I appreciate you coming, and this is very exciting. It's awesome to see some effort to try to reduce the amount of cars in the core of campus. Going back to some of the discussion about the scooters and kind of building into the question I was going to ask, it occurs to me, and from talking to students who bike or who use scooters, obviously these things can be a big part of the solution to some of the mobility issues we have, right? Seems to me a lot of the reasons for these interactions between pedestrians and between people using scooters has less to do with the scooters themselves being an issue, and it has to do with the relatively poor infrastructure on campus for some of those, micro mobility things like bikes and scooters. I know,
Absolutely.
we have some bike lanes. If you actually use those bike lanes, you're oftentimes right up next to a car with no protection.
Right.
A lot of areas on campus are very limited in the amount of bike lanes, et cetera, they have. I was wondering if there's any, plans to not only add extra bike lanes, but specifically to prioritize protected bike lines, have that buffer zone between cars and between people using micro mobility solutions.
Yeah. As far as, again, I'm just a communications specialist within the office. I'm not super high up and sit in on those C-suite meetings, so I cannot confirm that there have been any plans or actions as far as that. I think it's a great idea. I think that we do need to increase some of the bike lanes, especially in those core areas of campus, and utilize some of the protective measures. So the most that I can do is ask the people who do sit on those meetings and ask if that is already part of the conversation, if not pose it as something to bring up to them. But from the conversations that I've heard of, I have not heard anything about adding bike lanes or adding any like protective gear to the bike lanes as it says. I know it's not the answer that you want, but that does bring up a good point. And I could definitely forward that message to the people that do sit in those meetings. Thank you.
Okay, Julia Leday from the math department. I'm kind of curious about the C parking and the B parking that's in the core of campus. So as I kind of understand it, maybe this is years down the road, but will that be disappearing? And if it does, will there be after hours parking available? Like, I know everybody in this room has probably come in on a Sunday to do something in their office. You're probably not going to have buses running on Sunday afternoon.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, our buses are going to continue to operate from 6 o'clock in the morning until midnight. On those weekends and stuff like that, I would like to reference all of this parking as far as like receiving a ticket and citation and stuff like that. All of that is within our hours of operation. From 7 a.m. to 4:30, that's when you need to be in your specific zone or your specific lot or anything like that. So if you do find yourself needing to come onto campus on a Sunday to do some work or on a Saturday and stuff like that, it's open parking. As long as it's not a game day, because, athletics takes over on game days and stuff like that. We are not in operations. We are not have anybody out that is currently writing tickets if you're parked in the wrong lot. Some of the lots around those core areas of campus by the quad are expected to go away. Part of the master plan was that like Nicholson Hall lot is going to be going away. I believe some of the street parking on Dalrymple is going to be going away as well. I don't believe that like the Coates Hall lot or the campus mounds or T-Boyd or any of those big lots, I don't believe those are going to be going away. So those will still be available. But yeah, as far as like needing to stay super late at night, even, during the day, if y'all have had to like use transportation to get in, we would still have those options that will run all the way until midnight. And then as far as having access to like your office building or some of those specific lots on the weekend, we're not going to ticket you. Now, I'm not going to say that you're absolved from getting a ticket, because LSU PD, they do have the ability to write a ticket if you're parked in a fire lane, an ADA space, a travel lane, so stuff like that. It's not like let's park on the grass because parking's not here. But as far as having access to those lots and stuff like that, even if that's not your specific permit type or you just want close access, that is completely allowed. No, for sure.
Well, thank you very much for
Yes.
the presentation. We appreciate you guys.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. And before we adjourn, I just wanted to make note of one thing. We generally have a good relationship with Academic Affairs, but we have a deep and personal grievance with them at the moment because they heard all the good things we said about Trisha Cobb and they have stolen her from us. And so Trisha, who joined us 2 years ago, has done outstanding work as a faculty senate coordinator. She will be greatly missed, but we're excited for her new opportunity. And so thank you very much, Trisha. Her last day with us will be Friday, and then you'll still see her on campus, but just in academic affairs rather than with us. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn? Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you in October.